Hey, just Shelby here with Grassroots Strong, Own Free Will, Worldwide Witness, Cali Girl, Great Awakening 70. And I'm just coming on. This is a random video that I thought I needed to share. Um, and this is about my switch from 35 years of the healthcare system going to absolutely zero. Um, you know, in 2008, I just want to share my story because some people are still working in this industry that don't believe in it. And I get it. They have bills to pay, they have families to take care of. Um, and it is a sacrifice, absolutely a sacrifice. Coming out of your comfort zone and really putting your trust and faith, in God. Um, I think it was the best thing that I could have ever done. I woke up this morning and I've been getting signals and signs for months, that I need to share my story. So I'm going to be doing it in segments, and I'm starting here on Own Free Will's channel because it really comes down to your belief system, you know. So I was hired as a entry level operator back in 1988, I think it was. I was 17 years old. I loved it. I thought, oh wow, this is a blessing. I'm really happy I'm here. And I stayed with it. I was at that job for like 3.5 years and just moved from, position to position. So unfortunately, when the automated system came in back in the 80s, that eliminated my position, which was fine. The group I worked for a group of OBGYNs in Santa Ana, Santa Ana, California. And they were just, heavy hearted, but it is what it is. So I ended up leaving there, getting laid off, and going and finding some various positions, ophthalmology, urgent care. And then I landed finally a position at a multi specialty group in Huntington Beach where I lived. And, I was single, not married, no kids. I had the ability to do this. I ended up being homeless on the streets for a little while. I think 4 months it was, living out of my car. But, I never gave up, never gave up. So when I found this position in Huntington, it was like a true godsend. I happened to walk into this building. I was searching for jobs back then. You just walked in with a resume, right? So I walked in, and this group happened to be hiring for their Huntington Beach location. I can look back now and go, wow, what a gift. But at the time, I was just so blessed because I had given myself ultimatums like, if I don't find a job within a week, I'm out of here. I got to go. And, anyways, so I worked that job for 15 years, and I was actually, no, 9 years. I was moved around. I was promoted. I was finally promoted after 4 years, 3 or 4 years from being hired as a work comp coordinator to front office lead to management. And that's where I got a lot of my experience, was in management. So I was involved with all the different committees that were there, because it was an HMO practice. That's when HMOs first started coming out. This was in 93. And I've just been, moving my way around. So when I ended up leaving there and moving to the Central Valley because I wanted something bigger than a little patio for my new son. So we moved here to Fresno County um, in 2002. And I met, an amazing doctor who gave me opportunity in another urology group that I was there for off and on for 15 years. A lot of things, a lot of great things I learned. I was able to create my own business out of this practice, a retail line for specific urologic products. And I was just giving all these opportunities, and I'm very, very grateful, very grateful. Um, but then, tragedy happened, and I lost my home due to a fire and my business, and I had no income. So I was no longer working at the medical group as an employee. I was a consultant. Great times. So, anyways, all these tragic things were happening in my life. This was in 2018 that my house burned down and I was unhoused. So now I've got two kids, um, both teenagers. My youngest one was, I think, 14, and my oldest was 19, I believe. Um, we've been unhoused. I've been unhoused since. My kids, bless them. They really got their shit together. They saw the light. They know how to play the game, and that's what's amazing. And if that's what it took to teach my kids that lesson, then I'm all good. But anyways, so I was working the last 5 or 6 jobs since 2018 I was fired from. I had never been fired from a job in my entire life. And I was fired from these last 6 jobs. And I was just like, what the fuck? How can this be? What is wrong with me? All coming back to me, like maybe I lost my touch. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. All these doubts, I call it the demon of doubt. All these doubts coming through. And then I hung on to this last job, which was home health care. And I was only part-time. And I'd never worked home health. Totally, wow. But anyways, I worked there for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I got fired because of personal reasons, whatever. Which to me was a blessing because it totally took me out, excuse me, of the healthcare industry altogether. And looking back now, I can confidently say that God did not want me in this industry anymore. He just didn't. I know that was my path, and I was not seeing the signs of getting out. So when COVID hit in 2020, I was working the recall. I got involved in politics. I just started a whole different path. And I could say that because of COVID and what I saw, I knew something wasn't right. I knew something wasn't right. So over the years, now we're in 2026, but over the years, I've come to the conclusion that it's okay. Everything that happened to me was supposed to happen to me. So when COVID hit, and I had 8 years of clinical research at this urology group, and I did consulting work for research companies, developers, whatever. So I got a lot of insight, a lot of experience. I understand how the system works. So when COVID came, I could see that this was something totally wrong, something totally wrong. And, learning what I learned, meeting Dr. McCullough and bringing him here to Fresno. We, as a group, we brought this man into Fresno, was sold out over 700 tickets to see him because at that time, which I think was maybe 2021 or 22, I'd have to look. But anyways, I just learned that, okay, this is a war on the people. This COVID-19 and the vaccines and then the hospital protocols that were murdering people. I mean, all this started making sense. Like I could never work in an industry where I knew that was happening and then just kind of turn a blind eye because I needed to pay my bills or I needed to support my kids. I get the hard decision making, but for me, my decision was taken. God made that decision for me. And if you're in this situation, and this is why I'm sharing, I feel like there's a lot of people that are in this situation and they just can't let go because this is what we're used to, right? This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to work and provide and, deal with it. Well, when God takes those choices away from you, you have to be creative in doing something else. And even though I'm not where I want to be, but I'm exactly where I need to be, and that's how I look at it. I was lucky enough to have my two boys actually grow into men at a very young age, and they saw what I went through. They, they did it. They're doing great. One's a firefighter. The other one is a aviation mechanic. I mean, I couldn't have been blessed with nothing bigger than that. I no longer believe in going to university and wasting all this money. I'm way past that now. And I'm so glad my kids figured that out because they're really living their life. They're not just waiting for a degree. They already have what they need to succeed financially in life. And they do make great money. So anyways, I just wanted to come on here and share my story because, I was really, when I worked clinical research, that's like the, creme de creme, right? It doesn't get better than that. Like when you get to clinical research, you have mastered everything in the healthcare, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not a clinician, I'm not a nurse, all administrative, all administrative. But I got to see how that operation worked. I got to see how studies worked. I got to see the operation and the logistics that are involved with clinical research. So when the vaccine came out and they were mandating this, we all knew that this was an experimental, right? And I couldn't understand, I gave it 2 weeks, like they said, give it 2 weeks. We're going to shut down for 2 weeks. We need you to, what is it? Stay in your house, whatever, for 2 weeks. And I did because I didn't understand what was, I wasn't sure. Like everybody else, we were like, what the fuck is this? So I complied. I didn't wear masks. I never wore a mask. I never got vaccinated. And I never did the whole 6 feet apart. People were freaking out. Get away from me. Finally I ended up landing a shirt from my niece that said, I still have it too. I should wear it more often. 6 feet, motherfucker, like step back. And so it was just, it was a time where it was a learning curve. Like I really had to see it for myself, and I did. And I see the deceit. I see the bioweapon that was being used and is still continuously being used, and people still fall for it because of the healthcare industry says, there's going to be a time, in my opinion, well, I know there's going to be a time when all these healthcare practitioners that still, okay, and even back then, maybe they've backed off, but they were promoting this because they were getting incentivized. I've done videos on it, big groups, it's just this long drawn out story from when I started paying attention to what was happening in healthcare was when Obama implemented Obamacare, like back in 2008. That's when I started paying attention to the games because at an administrative level, I knew the games that the private practice would have to play. They'd have to fucking dance all day long on regulations and policies and all these things that they had to implement. And then, just seeing it turn into more of a business rather than a place where people go when they're ill and people actually care. So, yeah, that was a big eye opener for me. And then just learning as I'm going, about the risks, and the dangers and the results that we were getting. And we're still continuing to get that. And I do believe that we're going to keep getting those. millions have died. Millions have died. Um, if you've ever watched Died Suddenly, that will show you the real truth, what's happening with all these vaccinated people. So anyways, I'm still, I'm self-employed right now. I do work a part-time job at a catering company, which I absolutely love. And it's just been a whole flip for me. I was working in healthcare since the time I was 17 years old. 35 years, 35 years. And my life completely changed. And it took my house burning down and, just having to go through that whole letting go. I had to let go of everything. I lost everything. And you know what? I'm okay with it. The only thing that sucks is that, yeah, I lost my file cabinet with all my kids' birth certificates and everything. But, whatever. That's all replaceable stuff and pictures. I lost all my pictures. But, anyways, excuse me. My message today to you is if you're doing a job that you absolutely despise and you can see right through all the demonic shit that's happening, take a leap of faith and get out, because God isn't going to dismiss that. This is a spiritual war too. Above all, this is a spiritual war. And if you're faking it in something that you totally know is wrong for humanity, then you're part of the problem too. And you might not even realize it, even though you might not agree with it, but you didn't step up to do something about it. I was lucky that God took everything from me. So I had no choice other than to rebuild a new me. And it's been a great journey. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about how everything's been operating in this. Hey, that's my son's cat. How it's been operating since the beginning of time, and how we've been indoctrinated, and how this whole healthcare, hey, this whole healthcare thing is a sham. It really is. There's natural alternative treatments. There's new technologies coming, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I believe in holistic care. I actually was able to work in a chiropractic office with innovative healthcare, and worked with stem cell. I'm a huge believer of stem cell. In fact, I am now a consultant for LifeWave. These are patches that actually regenerate stem cell. And, there's just so much opportunity. Don't give up. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. Just look at it as a new beginning. Because if you really, really are in a place where you're not happy and you're participating in something that you don't agree with, that's when you really need to take a step inside and find something different that pleases you and brings you joy. Anyways, I just wanted to share that. I hope this helps somebody who might be, in this situation. And it's any industry. Mine was healthcare. If you're in the banking industry or, the judicial system, and you're seeing all this dirty playing, and you're not happy, find something else. Do something you're passionate about. And put your faith in God. I call my God, creator, source. He is the source of everything. And when we start to dive inward, we will learn who God really is. Anyways, I just wanted to leave that there. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll be updating more. So stay tuned. Have a great day, everyone.